Hey folks, welcome to the Shut Up and Do It podcast, a Boston-based podcast where we bring you all things real estate with top quality speakers, all who believe in a get it done manner. I'm your host, Nick Aalerud, creator of the Complete Deal Flow System and a buyer with AA Real Estate Group. I function as an educated, active single-family and multifamily real estate buyer in the Boston area and beyond. Guys, the guest today is like OMG. We have the Mr. Brett Snodgrass. This gentleman, I've known him for years and years, but I really got to know him. He's part of our mastermind together. He has an active buying company, wholesaling and buying company in the Indianapolis market. If you guys go back to podcast number 1, you'll remember that we had Kayvon Massenberg from Indy, who was part of a gang there. I don't think there's any correlation between Brett and Kayvon, but the stories are still super, super cool. I'm honestly just going to shut up. He has a buying company, a wholesaling company. He is a coach, and he's got a lot going on. Mr. Brett Snodgrass, thank you for being on the show today, brother.
Thanks so much, Nick. Super excited to be here. And I do have a gang, and it's called the SW Gang, Simple Wholesaling Gang. And we go out, and we just check people and buy houses. So there we go.
It is what it is, right? That's it, brother. That's cool. Hey, why don't you give us start? Tell us a little bit how you got into real estate to begin with. Like, tell us your story.
Yeah, definitely. Love sharing the story. So I came from a house that I was a basketball player growing up. My dad was a high school basketball coach. Parents are both teachers, so I did not come from an entrepreneurial background at all. But I always loved just kind of the entrepreneurial niche. I used to take my piggy bank and I used to count my pennies and count my quarters. And even in elementary school, I used to buy candy. I'd take it to school and sell candy during the lunches in the cafeteria. And I always had this niche for entrepreneurship. So kind of fast forward, I was going to school and going to college to get a degree in elementary education. Which is not correlated anything to buying and selling houses, but that's what my parents did. So that's what I did. And I did that for about 4 months after college. And I was like, you know what, this just is not for me. I don't enjoy doing this. We don't make very much money and I don't enjoy going to work every day. So I'm going to do something different. So I decided to move back home, and my dad introduced me to a real estate guy. He was a land developer. And I was actually a bird dog for him. And he would buy these 100-acre parcels of land. And I was basically finding him deals. And I remember I was getting ready to get my very first deal. And this deal was worth $7,000, which in my mind, that was so much money. I've never had that much money in my life. And I was sitting at B-dubs and I was super nervous. And I was talking to the seller and just doing all these different things. And I ended up getting that deal for $7,000. And that kind of sparked just some interest in the real estate game for me. And then I worked for that land developer for about 1.5 years. But in the meantime, I was studying real estate. I was studying wealth. I was reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was reading other books that kind of related to real estate. And my very first deal, I was scouring online and I was looking at eBay. And, did you know that you can buy a house off eBay?
Nope.
Yeah, I know. I didn't either. So I was looking at these little knick-knacky things, and then I saw there was a real estate category. So I started looking at it. I was like, oh my goodness, you can buy a house for like $10,000 in Ohio. So I bid on this house in Youngstown, Ohio, and we ended up not winning it, but we got second place. But so happened the first place didn't come through, and they came back to us. And we bought the house for $9,000 in Youngstown, Ohio. And I drove out there. I was 6 hours one way, and I was looking at this house. I was cleaning it out, and I didn't have any money to market it. So what I did was I talked to my dad. I had about $5,000. My dad had about $5,000, and we bought this house for $9,000, and then we just marketed it. We put it on all these websites, and we sold it for $15,000. And that's when the light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what we just did. But here it is, and literally 12 years later, couple thousand deals later, here we are. So that was my first deal.
That's incredible. It didn't bother you that was 6 hour drive away. You were happy just to get a deal, huh?
I was happy. Yeah, I was happy as a clam because I was doing other things. Like I said, I always had the entrepreneurial niche. So I was buying and selling cars. I was buying and selling stereo systems. And it's really just the same thing. I just realized, in real estate, you can put another zero on the end of it. And it's just kind of the same deal. So that's kind of why I fell into just a little bit more money.
Wow, that's awesome. It's funny you mentioned Youngstown. We just closed on a 20-unit building out in Youngstown, Ohio.
Nice.
I don't
Nice.
know. Well,
Youngstown's probably come a long way in the last 12 years, I bet, though.
no, don't think so. Well, hey, here's hoping, right? Here's hoping.
That's
So that's
right. That's right.
very, very cool. So that was your first deal. Like literally, it's funny because a lot of our audience is from the Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine markets. So we're hearing $7,000, and
Yeah.
it's just a little unbelievable to us. So there were actually like bricks and doors and stuff.
There
Like,
was, yeah, it was actually a pretty nice place. Just kind of trashed, and it was, this was back in, let's see, this was the end of 2007, so the crash had just started. It was kind of at the bottom of the market, so it's just also a different time. But yeah, we could definitely buy $9,000 houses back then.
wow. All right. So you got the bug there. You just made $6,000, which is a hell of a return on a $7,000 plus, a couple thousand investment.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's it. I'm going to do this 2,000 more times. No. How'd you get there?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, if I could do this one time, could I do it 100? Could I do it 1,000? So literally, and I didn't know any better. I was just brand new, and I didn't know the crash had happened. I never studied real estate at all. I didn't know what was going on. And other people were saying, you know what, this is the worst time ever to get into real estate. And I was like, what are you talking about? We can buy $9,000 houses. This is awesome. So I just kind of dove straight in. And then in 2008, when the market was really tanked, and everybody says that was the worst year ever, that was one of our best years ever. We bought 150 houses that year. Literally, we were buying in Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio, Indianapolis, Indiana, and I just got these different markets, and we just started putting in hundreds of offers to REOs, and we would get, 1% of them accepted, and that's where we made a fortune off these houses, and that was kind of where it started. So 2008, 2009, 2010 was great. And then I'll kind of bring you up to speed. So the market started to come back, right? And we didn't know what to do with that because I'd never been in a comeback market. I've always been in the down market. So my dad and I were partners, and we started to flip houses. So we say, you know what? We can't do this anymore. There's not as many REOs, and we can't do our system anymore. So let's just start taking these, and we'll start fixing them up and flipping them. My dad was a shop teacher, so he knew a lot about installing cabinets and woodwork and all these different things. And I didn't know much about it, but I knew how to find deals. So we did it flipping for about 3 years. And I'm going to tell you, that was a really difficult job. I didn't get rich. We made ends meet. I was waking up. I was the guy waking up at 5 a.m., meeting my contractors at Home Depot, picking out the light bulbs and the flooring and picking up all the tile pallets and all that stuff. And I was taking them to the houses and managing the contractors. And I did that for 3 years. And then I had gotten married, and my wife was working. She was making about $40,000 a year. And we had our first child, and she wanted to stay home. And I was making, I don't remember how much I was exactly making as a flipper. I was probably making between 50 to 100,000 a year, doing a dozen houses a year, something like that. And I was like, you know what, this is really going to crush us. We're going to lose $40,000 a year from your income. And I said, I don't know what to do. I was juggling about 6 houses at a time. And I'm going to tell you, I was getting sued by a contractor who got injured on a job and wasn't supposed to be there. I had just had a contractor run off with about $15,000 of the money. And 3 of the other flips were not going well. We were way over budget, and the timing was way off. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I can do this anymore. So long story short, I said, you know what? I'm going to do exactly what I do well. I'm going to go back into wholesaling. I'm going to negotiate the deals. I'm not going to flip anymore. And we're going to do it. And we're going to do it big. And we're going to be the best. And that's exactly what I did. So that's when I created Simple Wholesaling, the company, about 3-4 years ago. And it just kind of went from there. The first year we did 50 deals. I got rid of all the flips. We did about 50 deals. And it really just kind of doubled. We did 50, then 100, and then 200. And then last year we did 274. The year before that we did 300. So it's been pretty crazy. We got a team of about 9 people now in Indianapolis. We only do Indy. We don't do any other markets. And long story short, man, that's awesome.
Wow. I got to imagine. Wow. I can't imagine with that inventory. I mean, was it tough to kind of get all your buyers lined up for that, or did you already have them from your rehabbing side, or how'd you get all those guys?
I mean, I had on some from before a little bit, but you know what? A lot of the buyers that were buying in 2008, 9, and 10, I mean, they weren't buying anymore. We had to develop new ones. So it really just kind of happened over time. We went to all the RIAs. We met people there. We started marketing ourselves, branding ourselves. We had our own podcast, the Simple Wholesaling Podcast, which you've been on, Nick. So check that out. SimpleWholesaling.com. Check out Nick's podcast there. And people just started flocking to us. Indianapolis is a great place to buy, and people just started knowing us. So it just kind of happened organically. We were very intentional about it, but yeah, man.
That's great. Are most of your buyers, would you say, are they other like rehabber buyers looking to rehab and make a profit, or are they more a lot of like kind of turnkey people buying rentals, fixing up and renting?
Yeah, so Indianapolis is a great cash flow market, and I would say probably 75% of our deals are cash flow properties. We're selling them anywhere between $25,000 to $50,000, and they're renting anywhere from $600 to $900 a month, something like that. So it's a great cash flow market. And those are like B, C type of properties. We also have A type of properties. These are cookie cutter subdivisions. And we can buy a 2007 house for, $100,000, $120,000, and we can rent it for $1,200 a month, make the 1% rule. So it's great there if people want to buy A type of properties. So 75% of our buyers are that. Cash flow buyers, and then we have about 25% of flips. There's great flip areas. I don't know if you guys ever watched the HD TV show, The Good Bones, the Indianapolis ladies, and there's some great downtown areas that are flipping. It's pretty awesome. So it's a pretty awesome market. So we get a lot of buyers from California, international, from Israel. But we also get a lot of local buyers too. I mean, I buy and hold here too, and it's just a great market all around. So one thing I learned though is I always felt like I always had to go to different markets to scale, right? I said, you know what, if I want to scale to 200 properties or 300 properties, I have to go to Cleveland market or Dayton or Cincinnati. I have to do 2 or 3 or 4 different markets. And I went to our mastermind, CG, and he said, you know what, you just need to go deeper. You need to find more leads, find different strategies to do this in, and go deeper in your market. So I never thought that we could do 300 deals in Indianapolis alone. And literally that's what we've done. So we've really just honed in. I know the market. If somebody sends me a deal, I know the street. We've bought probably 5 houses on that street already. I know what we've done before, and it's just, it's great. So those people out there looking to scale their business, I would just advise you don't have to go wider, go deeper. We've done some different strategies that have really helped us. We've partnered with wholesalers, which has just exploded our business. We host our own meetup here, and we teach wholesalers how to wholesale, which people say, why would you ever do that in your own market? And in my mind, it's like, we're the expert, and you know how many deals we've gotten from that? It's just been crazy. So we've been doing some strategies like that. It's been pretty awesome.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, that's all awesome. We just actually closed up, depending on when this is released, but we just had our live event, and we do the exact same thing. We're teaching people how to wholesale, hopefully to do business together, right? It's all about co-opetition, we say. So
definitely. So you guys did your very first one?
No, we've had live events for a while, but we've been training, same as you. I mean, if we train enough wholesalers, we can all do deals together. Right?
Yeah, definitely. I love it. I love working with other wholesalers, and it kind of puts that excitement back in me when they're getting ready to get their first deal. It takes me back to B-dubs. I'm getting ready to get my first commission deal. I'm making $7,000, and they're getting ready to get their first deal, and I can be a part of it, And I'm like, oh, this is just 1 out of 1,000. But for them, it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to change my life, and it's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and those 75% of cash flow deals that you're selling off, right? There must have been 1 or 2 maybe tenant stories that you might have that you can share with us that may or may not have jeopardized a sale, or maybe you were holding it. Maybe it's your own tenants that you were holding for your own deal. So, any good tenant stories we can hear?
Yeah. Do you want good or like so? Like good is? Do you mean like horror tenant stories?
Good means as bad as we could possibly get.
All right. I got you. Yeah. I definitely have some good tenant stories. So one I always like to share. is I never had a tenant like this, but I was looking at this house, had a tenant in it, and I was scrolling the pictures like I do. We were trying to price this property, and I was scrolling through the pictures, and all of a sudden there was a picture of the bathroom, and I just scrolled through it super fast, and I said, wait a minute, that was really interesting. So I went back to the bathroom, and I looked, and in the bathtub was it was a pig. so so the funny story was, I've never had a tenant. They had literally, and it wasn't like a small pig, it was literally a pet pig. And that was kind of interesting story that I ended and sold that, but that was kind of an interesting story. But one really interesting story that I had was, this is very recent. This actually happened yesterday. Is
fresh off the presses here.
Yeah, this is fresh off the press, definitely. And we bought this property, and we buy a lot of problem tenants. So we take down our properties. We usually wholesale them. So we buy them in our name. We usually clean them up or have to fix something with the property, and then sell them off to an investor. So this one had a squatter in it, which basically had a tenant in it that was not paying any rent. So we went to buy the property, and the seller says, yeah, by the way, the tenant, good luck. That was her comment. She said, good luck with the tenant, which means like, oh my gosh, this is going to be crazy. So literally we bought this house knowingly that we had to evict the tenant. So we bought the house, we scheduled the eviction, we were going through the eviction, and literally yesterday, someone calls us up on Friday, and they said, hey, the house is vacant. You guys can go clean it out or do whatever you do. And I don't know who that person was. I don't know if it was a neighbor. I don't know if it was the seller. I have no idea. We're actually investigating that right now. But we literally went out there. So we got that call on Friday. We went out there on Monday, and my property manager sent me the pictures, and the house was literally torched to the ground. Yeah. And
there's no front door either. Good luck.
So literally the house had caught on fire. So someone called us on Friday, said it was vacant, and today or yesterday it was on fire and torched to the ground. So I don't know if the tenant came back and burned it down. Maybe she was mad about the eviction, but that's just a funny story. But that's the second time out of 2,000 houses. I was telling our COO, that's the second time I've had a house burnt down in 2,000 houses. So that's a pretty good track record. Have you ever had a house burned down?
I had a brick house burned down, which was interesting. And it's similar to your market. So we have we've rentals in Western Pennsylvania, very, very small town, similar to Youngstown. And I remember we bought the house for $6,000 as a bank foreclosure. We put in about $25,000 into that house, and we held it. It was a single family, but it was way too big. It was 3,500 square feet. And at the time, I remember, the insurance company I'm like, you're charging me what for insurance? I paid $6,000 for the house. There's no way in hell I'm paying you that kind of money, right? And then 8 years later, there was a fire in a brick house, and everyone was safe. No one was hurt. The tenant had just left with an eviction. Surprisingly, interestingly, maybe tenant. But the brick house was called a total loss, and that became our best real estate deal ROI side that we've ever had, ever. So I believe it was, not that this is a business model, but I believe it was a $200,000 payout.
Wow, so that's crazy.
We'll take that. So.
No, it's funny because I was actually, after this happened yesterday, I did a whole spreadsheet today on whether it was worth to insure our houses for the property, because I did the math about 2 years ago, and we decided, so in Indianapolis, we buy a lot of $25,000 and under properties. So I said, you know what, is it really worth insuring for the property houses that we buy for $25,000 and under? And we decided, no, it's not worth it. So this house we bought for $16,000. So it was under the non-insured for the house. Now we have liability insurance in case someone gets hurt and all that, but we don't actually insure for the property. So I did that math today, and I still think at the end of the day, it's still worth not having it because it's about a $40,000 swing each year. I've been doing this for 12 years. I've had 2 houses burned down. So I don't know. We'll see. But
the math still works for you. That's all that matters, brother. Right. Exactly.
Right. That's a couple of great tenant stories. I mean, I have so many others that it's just right now it's crazy. Tenants, like, they have a sense of entitlement sometimes, and we're trying to evict. So like we have 2 houses right now that we've evicted them twice, and we still can't get them out. Like, we've had the cops show up and they just come back and they're like, oh, we'll just stay here. Yeah, no problem. So I don't know. Pretty crazy.
Oh man. How many of those, Brett, are you hold in-house rentals too, right? So how many units do you guys have now?
Yeah, I don't hold a lot. I have probably a dozen in-house rentals, and just kind of hold. And I'd like to build it up a little bit more. So the rentals that we do hold are in pretty good areas, and I just like the areas, and I can refinance them for a pretty good amount of money, and they bring in pretty good rent. But I have about a dozen or so, and then we do a lot of the seller financing model, which has been great for us. And I really got into to that with a guy named Eddie Speed, who's in our mastermind group, and a couple other guys, just kind of learning from them. We started doing that last year. So it's really the same model, and it really fits us. It's totally not a different strategy. But instead of selling it for cash, we buy the property, and then we sell it with financing, which I really love because we're the bank. We don't have to worry about toilets or tenants or any of that. We're really just bringing in the money. Everything's automated, where it just automatic withdrawals of theirs, automatically deposited into our account. So honestly, when I close on that property, I never really talk to the person again. Money just kind of comes in, and we did about 44 of those last year. And I've been really honing in on that strategy and doing it right. We have a loan originator now that, we're thinking like a bank. We have, loan servicing companies. So really honing in on that. I think it's a great strategy. So anyone's interested in seller financing, love to talk to them, because I'd love to do 50 a year. And that's really long-term wealth, because, we're bringing in 30,000 a month, right now from payments. So the first of the month, I'm, 30K hits the account, and it's pretty cool. I love that.
That's awesome. Wow. I think mainly, are you able to do it with the retail buyers too? Or just like the investor out of town landlords, or everybody?
We do it both. So we do it with investors, and then we also do it with the retail buyers. They're going to live in it. That's why we got the loan originator. They're doing the exact same thing the banks do. So anyone's interested in getting that, the loan originator was a big thing to kind of be in compliance with the laws and all that. So yeah, we love both of them.
Nice. Oh, that's really, really cool. Okay. So going back a little bit, when you were starting flipping houses all over the place, you were trying to scale. What was maybe the first, a lot of people go, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What was like the first hard next step for you to say, hey, listen, I'm just me. I can no longer go as far as I want to go with just me. And like, how did you reason out, maybe starting to grow your team? I guess that's was that a hard step for you guys?
Yeah, it definitely was, because I'm just not used to it. I think it's always hard wherever you're at, whether even in my business now, it's like if we're going to change something completely, it's like it's really hard because we've been doing it this way forever. But the market's always changing, so we're always having to constantly change ourselves. My story about my first hire is not, it's not a sexy story. It was actually, I was sitting with a friend at Cracker Barrel, and I learned about this direct mail strategy. And we had always bought properties from the MLS, like REOs, auctions, or wherever. I've never heard about this direct mail strategy. And one of my friends told me about this. So I was talking to one of my friends. He needed a job. I needed someone to help. And I said, you know what? Hey, do you want to write these letters and get these yellow pad papers and write in red ink and to these sellers and do this? And he's like, sure, I'll do it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll pay you $0.25 a letter. And that was my first hire. So he used to write like 200 letters a day. And he actually worked with me for 5 years. And then, and then we just kind of scaled from there. My second hire was a guy that bought a house from me. And I remember I was walking around this house, and he was a super great negotiator. And I was asking, like, this is low end, but I was asking like $35,000 for this house. And he said, you know what? I think I want to pay $28,000 for this house. And I said, I don't think we can do that. It's like, I'm probably around like 32. And he's like, nah, I'm pretty much at 28. And I was like, okay, well, maybe, all right, I'll just do 30. Let's just meet in the middle, man. Let's just do that. It's like, I don't know. I think I'm going to do 28. I was like, all right, man, 28. And that was my first acquisition manager right there. So
There it is. That's it.
so he worked with me for a long time, and it just kind of evolved from there. It's just kind of like a learning step. But I would never go back. It's awesome just being able to delegate everything, and not everything obviously, but to delegate those things that it's hard for me honestly to go look at houses and negotiate again, and it's just once you're out of it, it's kind of hard, isn't it?
Yeah. You need to keeping sharp, right? Keeping the practice sharp.
Definitely.
Do you have any morning routines you can share with us, Brett? We're a fan of those.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the biggest thing, and I'm not the best at this, so I struggle with this every day. I'm like a man that likes change. So for me to do the same thing every day is really, really hard. But I'm a man of faith. So I wake up, I do my devotionals, do some prayer. Typically, I like to do a workout. I think that gets the energy flowing. And gets that going. I drink something usually green. I drink, get something good in my body to get the system. I feel like you start out the day great. Just drink something green or drink a smoothie or something like that. And then, usually take care of my kids, make them breakfast, and then I kind of go off to work. We usually have, I usually prepare about 8:00 for my day. We have what they call a stick at 6, and this is basically for the whole team. We have a Google spreadsheet, and we have 6 slots for each person for each day. And what I have each person do is I want them to put their top 6 things they're going to do for the day, and then I want them to take those 6 things and prioritize them from most important to least important, and then don't go to the second one until you get the first one done. So I usually fill out my stick at 6. And then at 8:38, we have a daily huddle call for about 15 minutes where I talk to the rest of the team, and we just go over what we're thankful for, what we're going to do for the day, and all that. So exercise, eat good, devotionals, and then just kind of plan out my day.
That's fabulous. It's so funny when, especially our audience, we hear some of the similar routines of all of these successful people here on the show. It's cool to hear it,
the biggest thing I would really love to do, I love to wake up early, and I think that's so important. And I set my alarm at about 4:45 a.m. honestly. I don't do it every day, but if I can wake up at 5 a.m., that's when I can get all these things done, and my day just starts out so much better. And no matter what happens during the day, I just feel prepared. I feel like that's what the morning routine is. It's honestly preparing for the day, and not just trying to survive the day. You're prepared to take on whatever it is. And if your house burns down, you know what? I'm prepared for it. So.
That's awesome. To swap you one more story too. It's funny that you brought up these, lower priced homes. We bought a house again in this Western Pennsylvania market, and I did not know a lot about, code in that particular market. So we didn't pay a lot of money. The seller, it was one of those things where we were at, I'm embarrassed to say these numbers, right? But we were at like $1,800. The seller was at $2,500. We were at $1,800. He was at $2,300. We were at $1,800. We then did settle at $2,000. So it was okay.
Man, I thought you were in the $500,000 market.
I know. Yes, I am. Exactly. Oh, man. We'll talk about negotiating the $600,000 market later. But it was funny. We bought that house in Western PA, and I'll never forget, like, just 2 weeks went by. We really didn't do much with it. We, it was boarded up. We put a padlock on it. It had lots of issues, needed some work. And then I remember getting, a citation in the mail, for high weeds in an unsecured house. And I was like, all right, well, we dispatched our handyman. He went out there to take a look at it. And he calls. He's like, Nick, dude, there's no house here. He's like, I saw Code's truck. The city trust came down, knocked the whole thing down, man. It's gone. It's gone.
That's awesome, man.
There's something called a demolition list. And I was not aware of it. So learning, #learning. Thank God it wasn't like a $500,000 house, like you said. So
I know. Do you still have the lot?
We no, I think we just let that back for taxes or something.
There you go.
Oh gosh, Brett, what is like the best? I take a lot from Tim Ferriss. We respect him a lot up here. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
What's been like the most influential purchase that you've made under $100 in the past 12 months, if you can think of anything?
Oh man, that's wow. I wasn't prepared for these questions, man.
That's exactly why we do it. We love this part. We love the sweat that starts pouring down on your forehead.
Oh wow. Influential purchase. Interesting. I just so I actually just at our mastermind group, I just did a presentation on, we have to give these presentations every quarter, and most of the time it's business, most of the time it's just some niche that you're getting into, some marketing thing, right? Nick. And I actually gave a totally different presentation this time, because I heard a guy named Randy Couture. He was at the last one. He's an ultimate fighter, and he won the belt 6 times. And the one thing I remember about his talk was he said he wished that he would have taken what he learned in the arena and his athleticism and installed it into his personal life and into his marriage, and he wouldn't have been divorced 3 times. And I really took that. So lately, I bought this book called The Naked Marriage, and it's a really great book about having just a successful raw marriage. And I've been trying to implement some of the strategies that I've been learning in this book and then also in business into my marriage. And it's been really, really influential in my life. And I feel like there's, entrepreneurs, I feel like fail in their personal life. And I remember when one guy said one time he was a public success, but a private failure. And I feel like we hit that sometimes. We're on these podcasts, we're doing these videos, we're saying all these big things. We're successful when everybody sees us doing 300 flips a year, but we're failing in one area of our life. And marriage is obviously one of them. So I've been trying to instill some of those strategies into my marriage. So if I were to say anything, I've been spending $100 on that book and then things into my marriage with my wife, Karen. And that's just one very influential thing in my life.
Yeah, that was deep, brother. We don't get a lot of that up here either. Exactly. And I think it's Medley who just says once in a while you just got to slow down, look around, and take it as it is. Try to make things better. Good for you. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
What does your next year look like? What kind of goals, aspirations? What do you have for your team?
Yeah, I mean, so we typically have a theme each year. In 2017, our theme was going from amateur to professional. So it was like we were an amateur team. We were doing about 160 deals a year to professional. And we did about 350 that year. So that was our theme that year. Last year, it was going lean. And we just kind of leaned down. And we kind of went from 350 deals to 270. And we kind of hitting that stride. This year, it's more of just how can we serve more? How can we be a concierge? When you go to a hotel, you feel this concierge. How can we serve every client the best of our ability? So really, we're not growing fast, I guess. You hear a lot of guys are going big and they're going fast and they're 10x in a year, stuff like that. And it's really not us. We're just kind of letting things marinate and we're growing slow, but we're maintaining. It's a very competitive market right now, but we're still doing 270 deals a year. We're still doing 25 deals a month. And I feel like it's because we got the same people on our team at their culture and we're just sticking together. I see other people that are losing this guy. They're losing that guy. This guy's going out on their own. They're doing all these different things and they can't quite get it right. And we're just solid, right? We're just sticking together. We're glue. So that's what we're kind of doing this year. So as far as goals business wise, I mean, our goal is to do 350 deals this year. Make a few $1 million, something like that. And that obviously big numbers, but I mean, that's kind of our goal, but just to kind of stick the course, because I feel like the correction's coming and let's just do what we do. Right, Nick?
Yeah.
Like, we're not
No,
doing
I love
anything new. We're not going out. We're not flipping. We're not setting another blaze on fire. We're just, let's just do what we do and let's just do it well. So
I love that too. You're absolutely right. Absolutely. Everybody's out there like, oh, what's the next number? What's the next? Plus 20%, plus 40%.
Yeah.
And totally with you, brother. Right? Totally with you. Especially when there's a lot of business growth and personal growth that we're all trying to get to at the same time. It's all got to be part of the big plan. So that's
definitely
great. Brett, what's the best way people can check you out, get a hold of you? Is there anything exciting too you want them to plug into,
Yeah, definitely. So we have a website called simplewholesaling.com. That's our company, Simple Wholesaling. It's just like it sounds, Simple Wholesaling. You can find out my information on there. It talks a lot about me. We have all of our properties on there as well. So if you're interested in Indianapolis and looking for discounted properties, cash flow properties, we'd love to connect you on our website. And we also have our podcast, the Simple Wholesaling Podcast. So check that out on iTunes. And Nick was on there, obviously. And we got a lot of other special guests on there. And that's the best way to get hold of us. So simplewholesaling.com.
Simplewholesaling.com. And you have that very, very sexy sign behind you too.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should be throwing Brian more sign work, but just in case.
Yeah, our COO, Brian Snyder, he made the sign. He actually had, before he started with us, he had a hobby. It was Brian's boards. He used to make those for companies. So
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Brett, man, this has been awesome today. We're so happy to have you on. And I think if you're cool with it, we'll probably ask you back in maybe a year and just reconnect if that's all right. I mean, this is
That's awesome, Nick. I love doing these podcasts. So yeah, I'm an open book. So if any of your listeners is interested, yeah, just hit me up.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, folks, thank you so much for taking part in another episode of the Shut Up and Do It podcast. We bring as much value as we can by sharing top quality guests and speakers. A huge thank you again to Brett Snodgrass of the Indianapolis market, simplewholesaling.com. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below to be notified when we have new podcasts released. And also be sure just to take part in our public real estate live Q&As. They're alternating Thursdays. So if this is released on one Thursday, next Thursday you'll see at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, aarecoaching.com. Totally free live coaching for wholesaling, rehabbing, and landlording. And as always, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next one.